Hey, I am with Kim Ahlgrim today. How you doing, Kim?
Great.
Hey, listen, you are in charge of this incredible thing called the Cove. So first of all, I'm going to tell people that here's why they want to listen today. Number one, they might be wired like an entrepreneur. Number two, they might have a student who needs academic help. Or they might be an educator who's saying, how can I improve? So what is the Cove, first of all?
The Cove is our academic enrichment center at Cedarville, which we provide a variety of courses, classes, and programs and services
Mm.
to help students academically.
I love it. I love it. When my son just took a recent tour, oh wow, you were first on my list. So I brought him, and let's face it, all students today, they kind of have this like anxiety,
Yes.
about what is college like? I know when I was in high school, honestly, what Kim, I thought about, do I have what it takes?
Hmm.
Do you find that a lot that students are
Absolutely.
asking
All the
that?
time.
Okay. And so you provide tutoring, you provide, but you also like balance tasks, priorities, all kinds of other stuff too.
Right. And we help all different types of population, everything from dual enrollment to
Mm.
the PA program.
What does
We have
PA stand for?
the physician's
Assistant.
assistants, yes, pharmacy, students with disabilities, athletes, undeclared. So a lot of different populations on campus.
Back when I was in school, when you were in school, I didn't go here. Did you go here?
No,
Okay.
didn't.
So they didn't have something
No.
like this. Why do we feel like Cedarville, especially, is actually enhanced by having something like this?
You know, it's happening all over the United States
Mm.
that these types of centers are just growing. And it's important. I think the newer generations are really open to getting support and using the services. So they're much more open where maybe our generation, we'd
Yeah.
sit and read a book and study on our own. The last generation or two, they're not like that.
Mm.
They're studying in groups. They're talking about their problems, whether it's academically or they're struggling in relationships.
Mm.
So, and it's important to help students with their GPA, which then allows them to graduate from the university.
Let's face it, there was a stigma too back in the day
Yes,
where,
yes,
I'm a Gen Xer. So, I went to the college in the late 90s, and you didn't want to talk about
no,
needing help.
no. I don't think I talked to one professor except to get my advisor to sign
Oh, yeah, yeah.
something. And I missed out on so many unique and wonderful relationships because of that.
I'm big into space. So I wrote this book
Mm,
called Day Job to Dream Job. And honestly, one of the chapters very early on is design your space.
yes.
So what's your
Oh my
space?
goodness.
Oh, you like
Yes.
this? All right, all right.
Yes.
I've
You're
tapped into
speaking my
something. Oh my gosh.
language.
Because oh, okay. So we'll get into that in a moment here. So I'm finding the exact chapter. But when people see the Cove, you've made the space so smart. Here it is. Design the space. And it's all about how, boom, design your space.
Yes.
What do I say? Our experience reflects your values. So, what values do you have, and why is this space with the
Oh
Cove?
goodness. My philosophy has always been learning environment is critical to
Mm.
develop those relationships, those trusting relationships in order to move forward. So it's texture, it's color, it's design. I want people before they even get to the Cove to be drawn into it.
And windows.
And
So,
windows, that
all
was
right,
intentional.
right. So it used to be like, ooh, and I love this at the new faculty training. By the way, big shout out to Dr. Mack and Pam Johnson
Yes.
for
Yes.
organizing all that.
Right.
But you said that students used to walk and walk back and walk back, but then you have a bell, you have candy, you
Dogs.
have dogs. I mean, I want to go there.
Well, just the other day, I think it was Friday, I saw a kid. He was walking and then he stopped and bent down to tie a shoe. And I could tell he
He wanted
wanted
to
to come
come
in.
in.
And he did. He got up, he got the courage, and he came in. So some students are still a little, if they're failing or they're not doing well, to actually ask for help is
Mm.
really tough for some because it's their very first time they failed at anything. and they need to develop that skill. And we want to create an environment where those students are drawn into the space.
So Kim's giving a really big entrepreneurial tip here, which is, folks, you have to be intentional
Yes.
about your space. I go into an Apple store. An Apple store is very different than Cracker Barrel. Cracker Barrel has pots and pans, everything hung on the wall.
Right.
Apple is white, minimalist. You don't see magazines, gum, mints. But again, the quote is, our experience reflects your values.
Yes.
So Steve Jobs was not about clutter. He was not about, but Cracker Barrel wants to create this warm, homey, right? So when you are successful, like you have been, Kim, and by the way, I just want to say that because there's this stigma out there in Christianity that, ooh, you shouldn't be successful. I'm like, what Bible are you reading?
Right.
You know, Joshua says, he prays for success. He says, give us success. Nehemiah, give me success when I go speak with the king. Esther, go pray and fast because I'm going to go speak and I need favor and success. You're successful. And when you get success, you have opportunities. And so you've been thinking about this seaside, which is a really cool concept. And I just see it as expansion of all that you're doing at Cedarville. What is this new entrepreneurial concept that you got?
Well, I'm so excited about it. I can barely stand it. It was a dream I've had for a while. Never really talked about it until this summer, where I thought, maybe I could do this as a business.
Wow.
And I have been doing it a little bit on the side, but it's called Seaside. It's higher education consulting. This is an area that's really growing in the United States. So the focus, well, for us, we're starting with a team of 3, and they're all experienced in higher education, student success. And our client will be college students from all over the United States and prospective students who will be going to university, and help them to thrive academically.
Wow.
In academics and in their life personally. It's all holistic. You can't separate one thing from another.
The reason why I like this, so I run a company, Igniting Souls. I actually hire entrepreneurial minded people. My team, my employees have other things that they're doing. They're writing some books. They're doing some coaching. And I don't mind it. And we have conversations once in a while just to make sure that everyone is still loving it.
Right.
But I see it as like a expansion of what we're doing. I think that when this seaside thing keeps growing, here's my belief. Cedarville will actually have more impact. I think you'll be coaching some people and they'll be like, oh my gosh, if this is what I get at Cedarville, I'm going. I think actually it's I don't know if you ever thought that way. Have you ever thought that way?
I haven't. I like that thought because it is true.
Because once you get a little bit of people's DNA, their culture, their vibe, I see this all the time. I'll be on a joint webinar and I'll be sharing, or I'll be on a podcast and they're like, ooh, I like what that guy's saying. I'm going to go figure out how I can work with them. So I see this as a win-win. When have you always been wired to be an entrepreneur? What do you think? Is this just a new dabbling? What do you think?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think even as a young kid, I remember being 8, 9, or 10 and thinking about doing something like this.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until this last summer, because I'm at this great place in my life. I've raised my kids. They have their college degree. They're getting their master's. They're married. They're doing great. And now I have this window of time outside of my job. I'm like, well, what am I going to do with this time?
Yeah.
And this summer, I'm like, I'm going to see, should I take these steps forward? And the minute I took that bold step forward, it just seemed like everything just started to open up. And I was it fulfilled this creative need I had and to be challenged. And people have just been absolutely amazing and encouraging me to take this journey. So it's been there, but I really didn't know if it was possible. Could I do it? And once I took that step, it's just been exhilarating. And I can't imagine, what if I didn't do it? What if I just settled?
Well, if you didn't do it, I'll tell you what would happen. You'd go on autopilot.
Sure.
I've done a lot of study around flow, the optimal state of human performance, what goes on in the brain. Here's what needs to happen, Kim. There's 4 steps in what's called the flow cycle. And the first step in flow is struggle. So for you to get into flow, you've had to have struggle. But if you always go to what's easy, then you check out. And then honestly, I think Satan actually can tempt us a lot more because it's like, well, gee, I need an adventure. And then people create adventures. I'm not going to say, but there's some big wealthy people who went to a certain island, in the popular news right now. And my coach says the reason why they did that is because they didn't have enough risk in their lives. What it is. Yes. Good risk. Good risk. And so you're right now taking some good risk. You're growing exponentially. You don't know if it's going to succeed or fail. But you recently, I'm going to pull this folder. You recently went to Q school.
Yes.
Talk to us about talk to us about Q school and what you learned and how you're now like filling this out and you're coming up with your VPS, your value proposition statement.
So first of all, anybody can join this.
Oh yeah, free.
So join online. I went to the first one in person.
Yep.
And so what was it? An hour and a half?
Something hour like and a half. Hour and a half.
I left there and it felt like it was 5 minutes. I left and I was so wound up.
Yeah.
Because
you're talking about your demographics. You're talking about your psychographics.
Right. And talking about things I needed to hear because I'm in the throes of the risk and creating and developing, and we launch in a couple of weeks, but it was so, this is what you do. And people like me who are new in this world, those were all the things that I really needed to be addressing. And there's 3 more.
Yes.
So the next one is next Friday, right?
Yep.
Next Friday.
Yeah, we got the November 10th, November 17th, and then December something. But we even talked about what should be on your about page. Remember that?
Yes. And I never thought about that. Oh, do people really go to an about page? And you were saying that's
the second most popular.
I never knew that.
Page.
So I'm actually, this past weekend, I was working on my about page and taking a totally different approach of how I'm writing that.
I love it.
Yeah.
So your friends and family supported you, which is awesome. People started coming to you saying, we want to be consultants. And you're on fire. What tip would you give to somebody who says, you know what, I'm in a safe, secure job? By the way, if you're willing to share, how many years have you been at Cedarville?
I think it's been 26 full-time, but then I did about, I don't know, 6 or 7 part-time.
Really?
So I've been here a long time.
Okay. So let's say 6 plus 26 is
something like
32.
That, yeah. That sounds about right.
So let's say somebody's watching this and they've been in a job for 10, 20, 30, maybe 5 years, even 5 years. Why, if they have something stirring inside them, why do you think they should fan the flame a little bit?
Well, the funny thing is I'm already having these conversations with younger people who are new into Cedarville, and like, as they ask me about what I'm doing, I'll say, what's your dream? Have you ever had that dream? And what is it? And why are you waiting? Like, don't wait.
So now you're not giving theory. You're like in it with them.
Yeah.
And because you're alive and going through it, they can feel like this woman's authentic.
Because they understand it. And I tell people, I'm like, although I didn't really have it wasn't at a place to be able to do it. But if there was that time and energy, I would have, because I was raising kids and that was a priority, a top priority in my life. And so, but to talk to these people who had this time and energy, I'm like, well, why are you waiting until you do X, Y, and Z? Start it now.
Yeah.
And that's fun to see them kind of light up and
it's so good.
Be excited about stuff. And
I love it. I love it. So we're good on time. I love it. So here's my thought.
Sure.
Everything's new. Everything's being created. By the way, did I ever tell you this? Do you know what the word abracadabra means? Have I told you this yet? Oh, you remember it from our class.
I can't remember what it is.
So I create as I speak.
Yes,
I create as I speak. It came to pass as it was spoken. So you're literally speaking things, and then you're almost seeing them happen. Is that pretty wild?
Yeah, that is kind of wild.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So I think the theme I'm taking away from this one is that you thinking like an entrepreneur is actually helping you be better in your day job.
100%. I needed something,
Stretching.
yeah, stretching. And what's happening in the Cove, we doubled since last year. So it's not that, life is slow in
Yeah,
my
it's not like the
job.
Cove's going
No,
down.
every
Yeah.
year we're going higher and higher.
Wow.
And the university's been incredibly supportive of all those changes and helping
Wow.
us and listening and looking at the numbers. And even now we're thinking, well, where do we go from now? Because we have to do something in order to sustain the
Yeah.
growth. But again, it comes back to this generation.
Love
And
it.
that's exciting to me to think that this generation is so willing to accept that help and talk about the things in their life.
I love it. So where can we find out more about Seaside?
Well, Seaside launches as soon as the website is done.
We'll just assume that it will be done because honestly, this thing's going to launch Friday, I think. So it may, who knows?
Okay.
Who knows? So
the website will be available soon. And the website is I have to think of what it is.
It's all right.
It's Seaside Higher Education. No, seasidehighered.com.
Seasidehighered.com. Oh, that's
It's
good.
still so new that I had
Yeah.
But it should launch, I think, by mid-November.
Love it.
So we shall see.
Yeah. Well, listen, there'll be people who listen to the back episodes, and this will be brand new for them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyone I talk to, when I say Cove or Kim, their eyes light up. Wow. I'm not even kidding. They get excited. There's energy. There's energy around the Cove. That's so cool. Well, Kim, I think that you, Saint Irenaeus said that the glory of God is a man or woman fully alive.
Oh, wow.
Are you like that?
Gives me chills.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I feel like you're fully alive. And then my other favorite quote is that the most powerful weapon on earth is a human soul on fire. So I just see you as like blowing up. I'm so glad Cedarville is behind this. They think abundantly,
that's good.
You need, if you're part of an organization, which I was, no, I'm not going to throw anyone under the bus, but many years ago, I was part of an organization where they tolerated my entrepreneurship. And that's a really nasty word because it can go for a while. But like when you're in that environment for years of being tolerated, you have to make a choice. And then when you have to make a choice, you either go pro or you die. Right. You die inside the institution. But it seems like you are flying high, and we are just so happy for you, Kim. So thanks for all that you do at Cedarville.
Thank you for having me. I so appreciate it. And thank you for believing in me and for having me on this podcast.
Check out our website, folks, and seriously consider whether God is leading you to consider entrepreneurship as well.